Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Women Racing to Win right here on the Grid Network. Joe Samdiego here. Daniel will be trying to join us shortly. He is on the road heading to the next race weekend, of course, and we have a lot to talk about, especially W Series. The second race of the W Series season is this weekend, and of course, everyone's following Alice Powell. Alice Powell, of course, who was a guest on the show earlier in the year. Well, she went off and she dominated that first race of the year, essentially getting the pole, leading every lap, taking a big win, making a big statement. Essentially, a lot of folks were talking about Jamie Chadwick, bicycle visitor, some of the big favorites. We didn't hear a whole lot about Alice Powell. She went out there, essentially led every lap, just dominated this race. Sarah Moore and Fabian Woolen, of course, rounded out the podium. And the defending champion, Jamie Chadwick, spun out a little earlier in the race. She was able to recover, fell back, and came all the way up to sixth place. And Bicycle Visser was running up front, up to fourth place, third place. But then she also had an issue as well and fell all the way back, finishing 12th. So our two championship leaders from last year are now towards the back. He got Alice Powell, Sarah, and Fabienne all up front. So it's definitely going to be a very exciting weekend to see what happens in the W Series. Second race weekend in Austria. Of course, this is the first time they're having a doubleheader in 2021. They've done a doubleheader back in 2019 in the street course. But now at this track, a lot of questions going into this race, and especially if you're not familiar with the W Series, some of the big changes, of course, we're going to have is in the W Series, you don't get the same car and the same crew. It switches after each event. The only time it doesn't switch is if you get a DNF. I did not finish. Big reason is because if you crashed that car or had mechanical problems, you get assigned that same car the following weekend, just so that way another driver is not given the bad luck of having that car that was plagued with issues or worse, being involved in a crash. Now, one driver that's going to have that same car is Marta Garcia. She did not finish the race, and that was a surprise to everybody. A lot of drivers, a lot of fans were talking about her being one of the top contenders for winning the W Series championship. So already 5 races left, a DNF. She needs to really score some points in the next couple of races. That will be huge for her. And then one of the other big surprises, well, Garcia Bracet getting essentially in her first start a top 10 finish. A lot of people, that is a big impressive accomplishment in your first time racing out there. And then as well as her, we saw Irina Sidovarkova. Both of them finished in the top 10. And then Belen Garcia, of course, who's also been on the show as well, too. Big effort for her. She qualified up towards the front. And then from the front, she's just been up there all day race long. Essentially had some bad luck, but come out fourth place. Big effort for her in her rookie campaign in the W Series. So big overall, a lot of surprises for Belen Garcia, and Irania. And of course, Marta looking to rebound. And we asked everyone in the chat room, be sure to comment. Who do you think is going to be the biggest surprise this weekend? And do you see Alice Powell winning 2 in a row? A lot of people have talked about her. Of course, the big thing is funding. And what the W Series does, it removes the funding aspect away. So if you're a driver that doesn't have that resources to personal funds or big sponsorships, this is a good proving ground for you and earn points to go to higher racing series. Very excited to see what happens the second race in the W Series. Now, of course, this past weekend, besides W Series, we also had a lot of racing going on, starting with Hamda Al-Kabasi, essentially continuing her season in what is Italian Formula 4. The big thing we saw from her, very good weekend at Bologna. Very good qualifying. Unfortunately, P12 in the race, just outside the points, and then was P7, battling for P6 when she did a mistake and finished way in the back in 17th place in race 2. Race 3 went a lot better. Essentially, race 3, 7th. That was her best result. And then essentially, we're looking at her earlier in this year. She had gotten podiums, but definitely making the best of what has been a pretty up and down weekend with bad luck and just essentially competitive racing. Of course, there's a lot of vehicles, a lot of teams in Italian Formula 4. And one of the other drivers that we had there was Maya Wade. Of course, she is the driver part of the Ferrari Driver Academy. Difficult weekend for Maya. Had an accident in race one, recovered to P11th by the last race, so really tough break for her. Now in the United States, we had three racers all racing at Pocono Raceway, starting with the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, Hailie Deegan. Hailie Deegan, of course, a lot of fans following her. She had a very successful career in NASCAR Can-Am Series, then went to the ARCA Series, and now she's up in the Truck Series. So overall, a lot of people anticipating a lot from her. She had a pretty good weekend. Not exactly anything too thrilling, but essentially she started 19th place. Of course, there was no qualifying. This is all based from prior race results and this point standing. Came home 26th place, just missing the top 20. Essentially, truck handling was a bit of an issue. And of course, with Pocono, if your vehicle is not handling well in Pocono, it's a long day at the racetrack. The three corners, they're not alike. In fact, one corner is based out of Indianapolis Motor Speedway, another corner based out of the Milwaukee Mile. That first corner is really tricky. We've seen some really nasty crashes there. So if your car is not handling, you're going to have a long day in Pocono. And that's what happened to her and Jennifer Jo Cobb. Jennifer Jo Cobb started 36th place. Of course, she didn't make the last race weekend based off qualifying speed. So that dropped her way back to 36th place. And essentially, it's just something where if you're in the NASCAR, any of the top three series, if you're marred in the back with bad results, poor results, and there's no qualifying, you're going to be towards the back, and it's just such a big hole to climb out of. We saw that with Eric Almirola in the Cup Series, and that is what's going on with Jennifer Jo Cobb. Just some bad luck, falling further behind, but she did come up to 31st place, so essentially gained 5 positions at Pocono Raceway. So at least there's some momentum of we gained some ground, hoping for a better starting position in the next race weekend for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. We also had the ARCA Series, in which Stephanie Moyer, first ARCA Menard Series start. Now she has 3 ARCA Menard East Series start earlier this year, but it was the first time for her starting the ARCA Menard Series, the main series for the ARCA. Overall, 20th place. We thought it was a pretty good, solid start, and then she was climbing up the field in Pocono, running a good, solid race. She did make some headway on Twitter. She avoided a big crash that occurred in the tunnel turn area. Once she got through that, she again continued learning everything about that car, the experience on Pocono's essentially it's a super speedway, but of course with the bank turns, you don't get the high speed like Talladega and Daytona. Come home 15th place. Great effort for Stephanie Moyer, especially considering all the challenges that she has as a rookie. It is always tricky when it comes to being a rookie at a new track, and especially a super speedway like Pocono. And of course, we encourage everyone, as we talk about all the drivers, be sure to follow them on their social media platforms. Huge support for them. We're going to take a quick 30-second break. We'll have more on the women racing to win after this break. Joe Samaniego here. Want to invite you to go check out Publis. Publis is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out pawbliss.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well. Now, of course, British Formula 4, Abby Pullen finally was back on the podium. She was always one of the top drivers in practice, then had a difficult qualifying and finished 2/10 off, which put her in 11th place. Race 1, finally made it back to the podium with a pass on the final corner. Really masterpiece of a move. Race 2, this is when we saw her spun on the opening lap and was 20 seconds behind. Essentially, weather allowed her to gamble on slick, and it paid off. After 5 laps. She started again, passing everyone, and went up to 3rd place, and then held up on the final laps when she started to see some rain. But with her lap she had, with her gamble, 3rd place for Abby Pullen another podium. Wonderful job. And then, of course, the third race, all tires with damage limitation, that brought her down to P8. But overall, solid good points for the weekend. 2 weekends where she had very unlucky bad breaks and could not capitalize on her place. Kind of feels like her title chances have been really hurt, but now they're going to start up. She's now going to the Red Bull Ring for the second round of the W Series, where she'll be the reserve driver for the first time. So definitely it's going to be really exciting to see what Abby Pullen can do, and we encourage everyone to be sure to follow the Grid Network all year long right here on YouTube, as well as Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. And be sure to follow the Women Racing to Win. Great website. Daniel and the crew there do a wonderful job, and we encourage everyone this upcoming weekend to check out all the women racing around the world. You can see their website right there, in which they have a full racing calendar. Of course, we have the W Series, Italian GT, where you're going to have Kerry Schreiner, Rahel 5, Sarah Boyer, and Flick Fagan. And then we also have TCR Spain, where Michelle Haller and Alba Cano making their races, and a lot of racing going on all across. You just click on the link and you'll see which drivers are there, including Sheena Monk, Taylor Hagler, all sorts of racing throughout the weekend. Very exciting stuff. And of course, big thank you to Dan from the Women Racing to Win for making this possible, helping out with the show. Unfortunately, technical difficulties right before the show went on the air prevented Dan from joining us. But in case you just joined us, we're just about to wrap up. But the big thing, of course, W Series in Austria, the second round, one of the big things. This was one of the best races last weekend. We saw a lot of action. Despite Alice Powell leading every single lap, you saw all sorts of action. And one of the big things I think a lot of people are not really talking about, but they should be. W Series, we saw a shootout at the end. We had a full course caution. We had a sprint to the finish. Alice Powell really controlled that race from start to finish and that restart. We're seeing more and more of these green flag sprints to the finish rather than ending the race under yellow, or even throwing a red flag to get the race to end under green racing conditions. What the W Series did with this, I think, was very important, because this is something we're seeing in Formula One. We're definitely seeing it in IndyCar, and of course NASCAR is known to do this. If W Series does this is good practice for those drivers. This is good experience to handle those late race restarts. This is going to be really key and beneficial to all the drivers. And seeing what Alice Powell did, I think that really is going to speak volume that, hey, you're good in the series and there's late restarts. Alice Powell is one of the drivers that is really good at handling that. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I anticipate it's going to be another action-packed race. We may see Alice Powell or another driver up towards the front, just dominating. But I think unless we see Alice Powell dominating that race, I think you're going to see some lead changes. But if you're in the middle pack, especially with this high speed straights and slow corners, it's going to be a very, very busy race to follow. And it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. Of course, that's going to be Saturday morning, W Series Round 2 of the 2021 season. We are all out of time. Thank you for watching today's program. I'm Joe Samaniego. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time. Joe Samaniego here. Want to invite you to go check out Publis. Publis is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our Grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out pawbliss.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well.